Welcome to our relationship flow. We are now going into a new series of intimacy. This will be our second part of intimacy as a series, and we were talking about this before we got to the time period of Shovavim, which we did 7 full parts, which you can re-listen to on the preceding classes. I recommend to listen to Shovavim classes because they have a very big practical impact on relationships, and they're set up in such a way that the 6-7 week cycle has within it a lot of divine influence on our relationships. Right now is a very special time as we enter into the parshas of Midnightrabbi and Kisiso and the Vyaka Bakudi, this climax of the Book of Redemption, as we enter into a dwelling place. We spoke about this in our Oneness, our future class on Brothers of Israel podcast. Welcome to go there and listen to the full class. I'm not going to repeat the points here, but the simple way we can gain from this time period is on many levels. One is specifically building a dwelling place for divinity, and that is manifest in the home. Each home is a miniature temple, a miniature manifestation of what each person should be developing within, which is a dwelling place for godliness, for divinity. And the reason this is relevant in a relationship flow is in order to really have true unity and oneness with your soulmate, a person has to understand that intimacy is described in the most deep levels in these parshas. That the intimacy that takes place on the Aaron Kodesh of the Kruvim is an image of what the intimacy should be like between a husband and wife, between a soulmate. There should be that kind of connection of spirituality and holiness, of the idea of being in the Holy of Holies, of having this intimate space to connect that no one else is able to enter. It's an intimate experience, that oneness that's created in that important location with those souls that are impacting each other in a face-to-face experience. It says a lot about what intimacy is, that it needs that face-to-face, intense focus only on each other, nothing else. And that image of the Aaron Kodesh, the Kruvim, the two angelic winged beings facing each other and embrace in a way, and the spirituality coming through such a holy place, bringing down souls, bringing down revelation. That's the kind of level, ideal level, that relationship should aim towards. And when you listen to people out there, like for example, Lahavdil, but we just had this week, we can not mention it, Valentine's Day, and on that day there was obviously a lot of talk about intimacy and relationships in the world. On a show that Ben Shapiro runs, the Daily Wire, he had some sort of quiz, like the 4 main hosts, and it came out that a lot of men are very distracted nowadays, obviously. So the ability to be focused on communication and intimacy is very much challenged nowadays. I do apologize for the slowness of my voice. Usually I'd be running right now with my wife, and we do our soulmate jog 3 times a week. It's very intense and positive, and this week, at the end of the week, we are now on Thursday as usual. This is when I record the relationship flow. Unfortunately and fortunately, the snow has come, and obviously that changes a different dynamic of ability to be able to go and jog. I don't think it would be safe or wise. And my wife is actually doing a workout as we speak in the house, and I'm just taking time to record this flow, which I was talking about and thinking about in my way towards sleep last night as I was writing my United Souls book, which once again we're now already in the late 70 pages, thank God. And maybe once we get to 80, we're going to put a lot of effort into making attempts to get an editor and a publisher, and whoever's listening, whoever has connections in those ways, please contact me. The link, email is below in the link in the description. Another interesting point was going online now. There's the Clubhouse, so that's one more app to be distracted with. So there's good things about it. I'm sure there will be interesting and inspiring discussions going on the audio platforms. The other issue, though, is that now we have one more opportunity to not be talking to our wife, but listening to other people. Not be talking to the people in front of us, but listening to other people's opinions, which is good sometimes, to listen to other people's opinions and that opportunity to communicate. But like everything, it has to have boundaries. That's the idea of the Mishkan, of having this dwelling place. We'll discuss more like the idea of next week with the Kohen Gadol and his special clothings, and how that's relevant for how every person can become a high priest, can have that holiness and dedication in their home, because everything that was written in the Torah has relevance, especially for relationships, which is the most important aspect. Because to understand how the relationship between soulmates is really a moshul of the nimshul, of the whole purpose of creation, that there should be intimacy and oneness and connection. And it's something that we should work on daily, and that the Torah itself has given us many, many insights into relationships on a real level. Being also now that we are heading towards Purim next week, we mentioned it in the description, that it's a time of joy. The joy has to impact our relationship. Now, I'm a little bit sleepy right now because I did get up a bit later thanks to the snow. I was enjoying last night just writing and connecting and looking over the day. We had nice pictures of the kids in the snow like everybody else was posting. It's funny. And also my wife's birthday. It's Zayin Adar, which is a very holy time tonight. And it's also the Yotzeit and birthday of Moshe Rabbeinu, which happens to be the same birthday of my wife and her twin brother, who, my wife being called Masha, means she has a direct connection to Moshe. She just has an extra letter, an aleph, which gives her name the numerical value of exactly Ratzon, which is will. So I very much connect, and also Sinor, pipeline, because really the truth is my wife is a pipeline for blessing, and my wife is also a manifestation of will. She does 100% what really every woman, Kuritsono, is built with the intrinsic intuibility to do the will of a higher force, of the higher power, the higher purpose in the world. And it's up to a man to respect and cherish that, and the ideal kind of form of relationship, as men are more built with an inclination to do the opposite of the will. And that's what makes our greatness come, that we have to be focused on that we're not a woman, that we have the power to break our inclinations, whereas a woman intuitively and naturally is attuned already with her own inclinations to the right thing on many levels, without going into this whole discussion. But on a simple point, that my wife specifically is attuned in even a more intense, higher level, which gives me a even more bigger responsibility to appreciate her, and then I'll see that pipeline of blessing. So that's something to think about with intimacy, to get to know the person you're married to. Like, for example, like I said, my wife's birthday has significance, her name has significance, her qualities is worthy, more than worthy of respect. The fact that tonight, for example, for her birthday, she will be staging a party, and my kids have already learnt from her. They yesterday brought her beautiful presents of chocolates in a heart shape and bonbons, and we never asked for them to do that, and they brought like a fire thing, like celebrating, and lit it and gave it to her. My two youngest, we're talking about a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old, and they wrote a whole letter, and they told me that I can have a chocolate as well, and they also took a chocolate. The point was that they've learned from my wife to stage life, as we spoke about before this show with him series, in between the intimacy series and the past one, that staging life is really important to create positive experiences, like right now with the snow, My wife wanted to go out and have fun in the snow with the kids, and I was just cold. But she's thinking once again on a higher level of what's needed for the kids. We have to appreciate the people, and once we come to that respect, then intimacy will be this delicate, be gentle, beautiful, face-to-face experience that is private to you and to your soulmate and nobody else. And that's the kind of intimacy that, unfortunately, if you go online and Netflix and all these things, you see that it's unfortunately lost, that people are way too physical, way too public, and in a way it's, taken something which my holy rabbis and teachers have taught me is the holiest thing and deserves the respect, and they've just made it into some sort of fulfilling, physical, maybe a little bit emotional and almost non-spiritual experience, which is very sad, because spiritually it's the ultimate manifestation of spirituality. Spirituality is about unifying and bringing that unification of godliness into this world, as we spoke about before, with the temple, with the truma. And to do that with joy, to enjoy, that has to have some intention. That simcha, per simcha is osis, is machshava, is the same letters as thought. So to be happy, a person has to really do it with thought. That's the essence of simcha, of joy. There has to be some intention. And the mindfulness movement or mindlessness movement, where we should remove the mind, is something which is very important to really enter into a relationship with joy and intimacy with joy. We have to allow ourselves to be there for the other person, to go beyond ourselves and enter into a higher experience of oneness between two physical people, two emotional people, really ultimately unifying as one. We'll discuss this more hopefully next week as we enter and get closer to Purim and understand this unification that takes place on that special day. But until then, I'm wishing everybody a beautiful Shabbos, a beautiful rest of the week, and keep joining us on our relationship flow. And hopefully next week we'll be running with more energy.